Thank you. Have we got any apologies for absence?
An apology from Councillor John Boyd.
Any declarations of interest?
Yeah.
Owning a picture framed on High Street, we are involved in sponsoring
Yes. Thankfully. We're very grateful.
and that goes for both of us.
Yes, thank you. Minutes of the last events committee meeting. Minutes to have a look. Everyone agree that that's an accurate recording?
Great.
Second, so thank you. Everyone in favour? Thank you very much. That's agreed. Do you, Steph, bring anything now? Or?
Yeah. Chairman, there's a 3B, a point for 3B for the events manager to provide and for members to request feedback on any matters arising.
Any feedback on the minutes or the press?
Please.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to feedback, if I may, on the DJ 80 event. And several aspects, if I may. First of all, I really congratulate John and Sarah for the arrangements they made for the free bus to take us up. I'm going straight on to the evening, if I may. I'll come back to the morning because that was a huge success, but the evening had its hitches. And John and Sarah were there ready for us in the town centre, over in the football club. And only then did John find out the bus was too big to go up Burris Bank Road. So we would not have arranged for it to go over the level crossing to collect people up that side if we'd known it was then going to have to come back across the level crossing and go all the way through Newbury. So that was a great shame. I don't suppose we're going to be hiring a bus in the near future, but if we do, we need to take that into account. And I think Reading buses really should have told us beforehand. The second point was that when we met some months ago to talk about D-Day 80, we as a council specifically decided not to do our own event. We thought it would be the right thing to do to join Newbury and go up to the Greenham Tower to celebrate together with a huge crowd, which we did. And first of all, the fish and chips ran out. Now that sounds petty, but it's not. Several people, including the mayor and her consort, had not eaten and couldn't find anything to eat. And we'd been told there would be fish and chips, so that was very disappointing. They could have restocked. They've been cooking all day, I gather. It was a whole day event. But worse, we didn't know till we got up there that there was no beacon to light. It was a flickering light piece of paper up in the glass tower and a few red lights shining on the bricks. It was quite disappointing. I mean, in fact, to be truthful, we made the best of it. I was in a big group of people from the Royal British Legion and others, and we made the best of it and enjoyed ourselves. But to be honest, my thoughts were that we could have done it better ourselves. And it's such a pity that I was one of the people saying, no, let's not do something and split the crowds. Let's go up to Greenham.
I think it's easy though, isn't it, to say with hindsight that we could have done it better. I guess they weren't expecting it to be so popular, and it's difficult to get that balance, isn't it? Of, you know, do we get too much and then we've got a lot of food left over? Councillor Schifferhart.
I did choose to go for the vegan, given that we wanted to do one. I thought that maybe would have gone right. Thatcham was first for us. And I know there were various options on vegans, etc. So not to have one is quite, I don't know, it's a bit like going to a fireworks display and having one Catherine wheel. You expect to see a whole show. Trying to go to a firework display and seeing the Catherine wheel, but you want the whole show, don't you? Putting that metaphor in. You're right, totally.
But I would like to go back to the morning event, which was under our control, was absolutely lovely, went without a hitch, was a tremendously good turnout, both at the memorial, and there were more people back in here than I've seen before. So I think the bit that we were in charge of went very well indeed. I thank the staff for organising that. And I'm not saying it was a failure, it was just disappointing. That's all. Thank you.
Chairman, can I just add one thing? We counted 125 people, which was Armistice Day is around about 40, 50. So that just those numbers I think are worth recording.
That was really good.
And Chairman, on the bus, we counted 45 people going up and 55 people coming back, just to,
Excellent.
or Madam Mayor, should I call you? Okay, no, thank you.
Well, I think that the Greenham thing was a success.
Yes.
It was, there were more people there than they expected, which is why they ran out of food. And they had, the good music and people dancing. It was really a success.
I have to say that I particularly invited a chap I work for, and I told him there was going to be real ale, and luckily there was. I would not be here. I would be.
Nice.
Thank you. The next item is the Events Committee and Working Party. They have to agree conducted operating structure between the Events Committee and the Events Working Party. I think, were we going to look at some dates in terms of when the Working Party meets?
So my understanding is what has been agreed is that there are 4 events committee dates,
That's right.
which are the next ones following here are September the 2nd, November the 4th, and February the 3rd next year, but within the financial year. And it's whether members and I suppose events officers also what the thoughts are in terms of the working party and how to sort of support the events committee, and or are we all happy with the having 4 events committee dates? What I think it probably needs some discussion, I would suggest, with members.
Yeah, I think February to now is obviously 4 months, so a definite working party within that time. One thing that became very well organised, in my opinion, and very well marshalled and volunteered. I'm going to this one now, but it raised 68% of the mayor's fund, and I think it deserves a little bit more from the town council moving forward. Is the Thatcham 10K, because we put in £3,000. It would have been 810, below £1,000 for the mayor's charity, and instead it went up to a considerable more amount of money. So I think if we are going to be putting in that amount of time and effort, I would like to pledge onto the agenda to propose, should I say, that we make it part of the peripheral of the events, but to make sure it's on the agenda, because it was very well volunteered. However, I felt it could have been a little bit more, possibly from other sources of locations. And the quicker we get that done with crews, etc., and the youth centre, I know that will. But having a meeting between February and April, we haven't got a date yet. But I do feel that would be needed, if possible. So what I'm trying to say is, the events working party need to meet between February and June, but to make sure that part of that is included in the 10K on the agenda.
I'm not sure why between February and
February and June anyway, just because we've got obviously the town family fun day to think about, given it's only in 2 weeks now, and obviously we get to now, we've got no time to discuss. I think we need one in the middle to discuss anything going forward, like what do we need for it, marquees, people working for us, any other ideas that come up. But and then the run really probably going to be between November and February, really could be. I'm just thinking when. Interesting.
Okay, I understand the bit about the discussion of the 10K, but does that need to be another committee meeting, or could it be a working party?
Working party.
Oh, you're saying working
Yeah.
party. Sorry, I thought you were saying
Definitely working
committee.
party.
Okay.
It's not decision making, is it? It's not.
No.
It's discussion. Working party.
I think what's worked quite well this year is the working parties being called around a specific event. So around the Christmas lights, there wasn't a kind of the working parties are going to be set these dates. It was, we need to discuss the Christmas lights. What dates can we have for working party? I think that's worked really well. Councillor Lillycrop.
I think Councillor Simpson.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see
Yes,
you.
because I think the point of a working party is that you can bring in outsiders
Yeah.
who are non-councillors.
Yeah.
So I think we need to decide, like you've just said, when that would be most effective, when we need non-councillors to be present. And that's when the working party needs to meet. As you've just confirmed, it's not decision making, is that right? The working party isn't.
Right.
So they still have to refer to us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I think the issue that if we were trying to solve an issue last year, it was that the ground being that we were trying to cover in some of the working party meetings and that we were covering in the full committee meetings was overlapping quite a lot. So we were trying to move away from that kind of duplication. But in fact, some of those recent meetings that John's called, where he's basically getting together an impromptu working party around things that often need to happen in the daytime anyway, because you're involving other outsiders who need to meet during the day and that kind of thing. I think those worked quite well. So I think if we're moving back towards the having 4 meetings of the full committee where all the formal stuff is covered, and then we've just got that added flexibility to introduce small working party meetings around particular things. For me, that works quite well. And just to support what Councillor Shafart was saying about the 10K, absolutely agree. We want to give as much support as we can going forward. I think we felt last year that we were really relying on a group of people that knew how to run races, which as a committee we didn't really know how to do ourselves. So I think we're still, I feel we're still happy to take the lead from that group, but to support in any way we can.
I think, yeah, thank you very much. And the thoughts are, just as an kind of anecdote, is that we're looking to move to Broadway. So that's going to bring a lot of your experience of, managing that with particular road closures, etc. That's it.
Madam, I just wanted to agree that yes, the impromptu working parties, some of them work extraordinarily helpful and supportive. The Christmas decorations, the music and young people strategy, and I just from our point of view, I'd like to put to members perhaps their thoughts on. We look to be expanding Christmas, not just the decorations. Is there something there that we need to? This year's mainly just been about, to begin with, the Christmas lights, and the decorations, the specific decorations, but maybe more thought in terms of how the market, how the event can develop, how it can work with the town centre businesses, because we are trialing something out this year with not just the extra day, but closing off the high street for the Christmas lights. And it may well be that I would say definitely the support of members in the planning of that would be really useful. Yeah,
it's always difficult to set the working party into the committee structure to then find the funding and timing. And I was sort of thinking, I would sort of really say we need the working parties to be thinking 6 months ahead of whatever event they're looking to get involved in. So, for example, the 10K, if that's in March, April, then in November we need to be talking about that in November in order to give everybody a run in. And the Christmas we need to be talking about it this sort of coming month in order to have It's more about the practicality. Does that make sense for officers?
I would say so, because also the financial planning is happening probably from, well, when every event is reviewed and there's thoughts amongst ourselves, but the big decisions are probably from December onwards, January, February, to be able to establish, well, look, what are we going to commit to next year? And then when those budgets are set, it's very hard. Well, members can change their minds, but it's quite hard and protracted to make those changes.
Yeah.
So I think that needs to be borne in mind as well, really.
If we are thinking of going down the road of thinking 6 months ahead, allow the working party to do whatever work it then does, there will be an inevitable overlap, because if there's 4 meetings in 6 months, you're effectively going to have 4 meetings where the first, number 1, it doesn't really come into fruition until number 3 is in action. So there's there's almost like a rolling.
Yeah.
That allows members to get their input, then feed back into the structure, and then find any funding. So you're almost like allowing a 3-month lead in. So officers have enough time, and you can, because some of these will be additional costs that we might not think about, or even a slightly different way of doing the same sort of thing. So I don't know if that's helpful or not, but we've got 4 big events we do each year.
Yeah.
And those 4 big events will take that sort of time. If that's any help, I'm not,
I wonder whether we should, well, I've got 2 questions. One, do we need to have 4 events committees? 2, I think a practical time, if Christmas, and it is, we are investing a lot in Christmas, then probably straight after or as soon after the Christmas lights, that whole weekend, okay, we need to probably breathe a bit, and then collate all the stats and feedback. But I wonder whether we should be having something before Christmas, really, as a working party, just to review it, really. So that would be for that one. February 3rd in terms of an events committee does seem good, because that's the last opportunity in a way to finalize the events before we will put our program together for the year, and members will, and also then the working party can feed back into that February the 3rd. So that would be a suggestion of one. I also wonder what members think of the Thatcham Festival, and whether they would like more input in terms of the planning of it. It's run, I mean, I arrived in 2019, and it was kind of like, it wasn't really a curated festival. It was organizations, this is what they're doing, just avoid clashing dates and put it in the diary. But we've started to curate it, and it's started to work. But I'm sure there's more that needs to happen and can happen. And I don't know. I'd like to know. It'd be interesting.
Can I come back without jumping too far ahead? You've been very involved in the events. Do you think a 6 month working party, 6 months before that sort of date, buys you enough time to make tweaks and changes and insert stuff in if you need it?
Yeah, absolutely. But for me, the working party, the beauty of the working party was that it's flexible. So you can sort of plan the dates for those meetings at fairly short notice. And John can say, "Hey guys, I need a few to get the working party of councillors together, because this is coming up and we've got to plan that." Whereas the formal committee meetings, you do have to get them in the right place in the diary, because those are the decisions, and we've got to be in a position to make decisions a certain amount of time ahead. I would have thought make the working party as flexible as we can, and then we can just hold them up when they're needed. So for me, it's how many formal committee meetings do you need, and when do they need to go into the diary? That's the key thing that we probably have to get right, isn't it?
Thank you. And following on from that, I think the whole discussion this evening is to avoid the perceived overlap.
Yeah.
That's what appeared to be happening, that the working party and the committee were discussing the same things. There's no need for that to happen. If the working party say it's doing the Christmas, it does Christmas, all the details and everything, but nothing else. That's what their meeting is about, Christmas. Then they bring the formal decisions and the money decisions to this committee. We don't have to then get into the nitty-gritty at all. I thought that's the whole point.
Yeah.
We are the decision-making, money decision-making group, and we meet formally to say we agree with their minutes and their decisions.
Yeah.
So I don't know why there was that perceived overlap, do you think?
Well, sorry,
Can
Can
we
I come back?
answer that?
I think it was because we had one big working party and we got to the point where we were effectively covering the same things with both of them. And I think just in the last couple of months, as we mentioned, John's been working with smaller groups of councillors. It doesn't, I mean, I feel that the working party doesn't have to be the same group of people each time.
That sounds better.
If we've got a group who are happy to talk about Christmas decorations, as you've had, and a group who are happy to talk about the Music Trust's work, then they can just meet whenever they need to, and they all report back to the main committee.
If it would help members, I think we have agreed collectively that we want 4 meetings, formal meetings. The sub part that feeds into that can be as flexible as any member can be on a working party.
Yeah.
Then that gives you an ad hoc. You have a pool from which you can, and then feed it back that way. Whether the working party is meeting for a specific purpose, primary Christmas, something else. That I would leave down to chairs and the officers as such. But the 4 main committee meetings allows the time to feed in. And if we haven't got work to be done, it's still better to have had the dates in the diary than it is to try and slip a date into a diary.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and it's not uncommon for the council to diary dates in, and like R&A was bounced once, town centre's been bounced twice.
Yeah.
You know, so but it's easier to bounce it than it is to insert
Yeah.
the diary time in that respect. And I think the clerk has taken that on board as far as you know, it's better to have them in than it is to insert. If that's helpful, it's full.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So are we agreeing on that structure then, that we're having 4, we're not going to set dates for the working parties, we're going to have them ad hoc as they're required,
From this.
Yes.
Yeah.
and other people from externally to be invited, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that help the officers do what you need to be done? Nearly, it says.
It definitely helps, and also I think, as you quite rightly mentioned, that if we feel, for example, that this has been really good to June the 6th to sort this out, it may be next year. We don't need to have just before Fun Day, because everything's been agreed in February February the 3rd or whatever. So
Yeah.
that sorry, I'm just using that as an example, but I get that.
It's a good example because this is also about the new members getting their feet under the table, so they'd see the rolling diary part of it as well.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
Could I suggest then that we really want the 4 meetings. We've got provisional dates already in the diary for them. But could I suggest that we ask John to go back, look at the key decision-making points, and count back from the key events. And if he feels that they maybe logically should be in a slightly different place, then we can put that to full council or wherever it needs to go.
Absolutely, that's a good suggestion.
Yeah. Very good.
And it's a bit more of a procedural issue. Does the chair not have the authority to move dates and call meetings? So you don't even need to really go back to full council, the chair could,
Yeah.
does have the
Yeah.
authority
Yes.
with the officers, input obviously about moving dates backwards or forwards throughout the diary, but we.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, it does.
I mean, obviously, we could move it forward for council.
Absolutely.
Okay. So,
Yeah, I think so.
What was in my diary?
yes.
Yeah.
So do we need to take a vote on that structure then? That, so who wants to propose that? Thank you. Second.
Correct.
All those in favour? Thank you. Okay, so if, the next item is to agree the working parties. Terms of reference for the events working party and for the heritage working party for 2004-2005. So you should have them in your.
Well, the terms of reference have got to be changed because they don't make any sense now. As it says, to provide a point of contact for guidance on event logistics within plans approved by the committee. That's not the way we want it. They're not looking at plans we've approved. We're going to look at plans that they suggest. That doesn't make sense. That's back to front.
Do you want to read that? Can you, sorry, Deputy Mayor, can Councillor Stevenson suggest an alternative wording then?
Sorry, can I just say they do make sense to a certain, because if we've agreed that we want a working party to look at the Christmas lights,
Yes.
for instance,
Yes.
and that's what they're doing. So they're looking at the overall plan that we've got to the Christmas lights, but then they're coming back to us to say this is what we're doing.
And then we
And then
approve
we
it.
approve
Oh,
it.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. It just sounds like that we've looked at it first, decided on the Christmas lights, and then told them to go and look at it. Which is we know we want them to do the nitty gritty, and this committee is just signing it off.
Yeah, but it does say event logistics within plans approved. So the plan for the Christmas light is approved in terms of the overall plan, and then they're looking at the logistics of the plan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Councillor
I
Lillycrop.
think the current membership down there, we need to say something like it will be an ad hoc membership as from within the events committee.
Yeah.
Of minimum of 3 members or.
And does it have to be within the small group? It's only a tiny group. Can't you throw it open to other members who might just join a working party for the festival because they happen to be
Festival people.
yeah.
Pardon me for interrupting.
Sorry, Councillor Campbell.
Doesn't the working party may at its discretion co-opt such members
Yeah.
of the community? That covers the ad hoc, doesn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
it does. Yeah.
So we are saying you have the flexibility to bring in, for example, the running fraternity to that should we need to. And
Yes.
does that help to clarify?
Yeah.
What I think the officers are trying to deliver.
Should we say then that the working party should be chaired by a member of the events committee and keep that part about co-opting additional members?
Yeah.
Because, you know, some of the working parties we've been working with, we've had some external advisors, fundraisers, and so on. So I think it's good that we've got that flexibility.
And do we? Sorry, John. I was just going to say. So far, we've always had the chair or the vice chair on the working parties. Do we want to say that, or
Yeah, chair or vice chair
Yeah.
would be good. Yeah.
John?
Is it a little bit, I just want to ask, Madam Mayor, is it a little bit restrictive having that the requirement membership for elected members? Because that almost assumes that unless there's 4 elected members, it doesn't function.
I think it's too many.
Yeah.
I really do.
What is the legal minimum? Would one member, because you wouldn't certainly have one member and one member of the public, so that would be 2. you would hope you'd have at least two.
Elected members, but
Yeah,
I'm not sure what the legality is.
Yeah.
Shall I try and find out?
Would that be, we would suggest a minimum of two, but whatever the minimum legal requirement is in order,
Yeah.
and then we could, I believe the chair could devolve, the committee could devolve through the chair that power to tweak and to the officers who would then come back with,
yeah.
we are complying with the legislation, in other words, which
Yeah.
is what we would like to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else?
Can I just suggest, I'm quite surprised because I wasn't involved in the working party, but it's only James was a co-opted member. I take it there were other members of the community involved, but they're just not listed.
In other working parties?
Well, in that one, the
Informally,
events.
I think, yeah. So other people have been co-opted on for certain meetings.
Mm.
So we've had 2 or 3 sort of small working parties going on recently where other people have been involved. The Music Trust, you had
Louise Jones.
external advisors, you know. And I think also the quorum for the Heritage Working Party was recently reduced because we couldn't get 3 councillors in the same room at the same time.
You
and I
lucky.
think-
I agree, I think it's too many.
So I think, but then Heritage Working Party has the luxury that there are a lot of regular external members on
Yeah.
that body, even the chair's not a councillor. So that's a slightly different setup again, but I think now the quorum for that is 3 members, of whom 2 need to be elected councillors.
For the Heritage Working Party.
Yeah, is that right?
Yes, it is.
That's on.
I
That's
think
what's here.
it's what it says here. So I
Yes.
think we reduced it, didn't we? It used to be 3 councillors.
And it is
So,
those ones too.
On a good day, we can at least muster 2.
So sorry, I've going back to the Events Working Party, I've obviously misread. The quorum actually says the quorum should be 3 members of the working party, which must include at least 2 elected members. So
Okay.
actually, that's probably the legal
Minimum.
minimum, I would have
Yeah,
thought.
yeah.
And then should the other part, the other working party mirror?
It's exactly the same, which is what Councillor Lillycrop pointed out.
Yes.
I think then the only, sorry, Madam Mayor and councillors, I think then the membership is probably 4 elected members plus community representation.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But we've said that it shouldn't be that restrictive, that you know that the working party could have different councillors depending on whatever the issue is.
Can I suggest that we add into the co-opted list some of your regulars, John? Like we've got James there already, but the members that have been joining us recently.
Okay. Like Louise Jones, yeah.
Yeah, Louise would be a good one to add in. She's the fundraising expert.
But sorry, Councillor Lillycrop, sorry, Madam Mayor, if that's okay. I thought we said we weren't going to have a membership as such.
It's going to be a flexible membership.
Yeah.
Currently, all which these 3 can be. So
Why do we have to mention membership at all?
I think it was on the, sorry, it was what we agreed at full council when we drafted the membership and we ran through all the committees. I think they were named at that point. I think that might be why they were being named here.
I'm just wondering whether this is an issue because of the Heritage Working Party only having 3 members, and it's stating that I guess that the membership is 4 elected members minimum. Is that saying that 4 elected members is the minimum membership that the working party must have, as opposed to the maximum?
So it could never meet.
No, that's just membership, I'm assuming. A minimum, I guess, for elected members, whereas let's have a look at
So it's not a problem if
Events
there are
Working
5.
Party. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So that's not the problem that there's 5 on the events working party because it is exceeding the minimum of 4. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
But with regards to the heritage working party, there's actually only 3, and we're saying that on here it says the minimum is 4.
Correct.
It doesn't make one of the names.
1, 2, 3. You're right. Well, there had been 4, but
Yeah, and I think if we're going to make the members of this committee the pool for the ad hoc working party meetings, then really we should be listing all the elected members there.
So they can effectively any member can be on the working party. So the names are on the list by default.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
gives you flexibility.
agreed. Yeah.
And cool. Well, cool.
Yeah. I would.
If
Yeah.
members are happy, you're in charge. If you're happy with that, it's a suggestion.
yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Should that be proposed and seconded?
Second.
Great.
I love it when you guys make a decision. Fantastic.
Okay.
Right. Excellent. Shall we look at the budget? 2024-25.
We also to look at the terms of reference for the heritage working party as well.
Sorry?
Were we also meant to look at the
Terms of reference.
terms of reference for the heritage working party as well?
Yeah, I thought that's what we just did.
We looked at the events.
Yeah, and
Are
we
we
were,
happy with the wording in terms of reference on the heritage one as well?
yeah, when we were having the discussion about the numbers of councillors being let on.
The actual
That was-
terms of reference to develop schemes to raise.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yes, we didn't
Did-
look at terms of reference. specifically.
I just assumed that nobody had any comments about that, sorry. Anybody
That's
got
fine, I just
anything?
wanted to make sure.
Thank you.
Good pick.
Did you want to say anything about this, John, or are you just taking questions?
I have nothing to add to it, apart from to say that everything seems to in terms of the end of the financial year and where we're heading in the new financial year with the events, everything seems to be on track and within budgets. And
That's good to hear.
I'll cross your legs on
Yeah, so
the-
should that-
So I was just wondering, now that obviously more people, more events, making more, is the income stream, the net income increasing, I'm guessing? It looks like
We've pushed up the income on certain events, such as you can see Thatcham Festival. Ticket income, actual last year was 3248. And the budget, I think, which isn't shown, the budget for last year was somewhere around the region of, I think, 2,500. So we haven't gone great, we're kind of setting ourselves a £3,000 target. The thing that again, Councillor Schiefer Hart, that's difficult, and I'm sure you understand running events as well, is sponsorship and being able to guarantee sponsorship. We've hit our target for Thatcham Family Fun Day. We've lowered the expectation for the festival. You've only got to get one big sponsor to pull or to not sponsor, and it becomes harder. So we've kind of lowered that expectation, increased the expectation in terms of income for ticketed events and store holders that we've got much more control and confidence about.
Just one, for those members who don't really go through the budget, it's really quite early in their spending cycle and income cycle for any big anomalies to come up at the moment anyway. But as it looks like we're doing okay. It's like what
Yeah.
we've said, but this is what we expect it to be and where we expect it to be. Which is good. No big surprises.
Okay. Councillor Stevenson, did you have your hand up? No. Right, did you have your hand up or did I mention it? Sorry. Anybody else? Any questions or any comments?
No.
So.
I don't. I think it's just noted, Chairman.
That's noted. Can we adopt the minutes of the Heritage Working Party? We need 2 minutes to look through them. What's the proposal?
There's an A and a B where we have to actually vote. Great.
Should we vote for the minutes first and then we'll do that? Is that all right?
I love
can I
it.
have a proposal for the minutes? Thank you. And a seconder? Thank you. And all those in favour? Thank you. And then there's a proposal for the blue plaque to be installed on the building in the Cedars dental practice. Did you want to say anything about that, John?
Yes, just to say the reason why we want to. This is what we have done in the past. That because the blue plaques are showcased in terms of for Thatcham, what's happened in the past is that members have actually agreed the wording and the building, and the building proposes the Cedars dental practice. In the appendices, you can kind of, which I'll get up, you can see that the proposal is to put the blue plaque in that location. It is a listed building, so it does have to go to West Berkshire Council's conservation. I'll say my piece, and then perhaps Sarah, you want to add to that. The owner of the building, the Cedar Dental Care, has agreed to the location. We understand the location and the wording. We understand, and yeah, and you can kind of see that's the proposal. And it's really interesting. This building erected was a doctor's surgery from circa 1909, and the first in Thatcham to offer NHS services. So it's quite an important kind of landmark building. My new and highly esteemed events officer is working on this esteemed. I've got to use my words carefully. Is working on this project. Do you want to?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So, as John said, we're in the process of sort of getting the planning, consent for planning, because it's a listed building. So, we served the notice required on Dr. Patel at the Cedars as the owner. So we're just waiting for a couple more details for the planning to go through. I think the idea is that it will be launched in sort of the festival in October. And that from there we might also be able to sort of get back on track with the heritage sort of trail around Thatcham and sort of use that as a bit of a launching point. We can't unfortunately unveil it on the building just because of the location and sort of where it is on the A4 and safety and things. So I think the plan is maybe something in the garden and perhaps up here afterwards for refreshments. So
we don't want anyone getting
no, exactly. It's that close, isn't it? So yeah, I think it's all on track.
Good.
Ask a question, just with regards to the wording. So it's a plaque regarding the fact that the building was a doctor's surgery and it's going on to a dental practice surgery currently. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
So am I reading this wording to say that this was a doctor's surgery from 1909 and the first dental practice in Thatcham?
First
No,
doctor's
doctor's surgery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Heritage Working Party are also trying to get some sort of backstories and photographs and information. And you might have seen something in the news. There was an article sort of trying to build up backstory as well. So.
Councillor Shepard.
I heard from someone, I can't remember who, that apparently that's where Francis Bacon used to live growing up. I'm not sure how much I know about that. It's because it's his 200th birthday. Hence what I'm doing with the library, with constellations with Francis Bacon School. But I heard that, yeah, it was one of his family homes. So hence his link to Thatcham, because he's buried in St Mary's Church.
I think the connection is a little bit tenuous. I think that one has been discussed with the many historians on the Heritage Working Party.
It's never been proven.
Yeah, I think that they didn't want to dwell too much on that.
The minutes. Are you happy now that the blue clocks you're going to get, John, are not going to walk?
Oh, yeah.
I can
I've read your update.
respond to that. So we're still waiting for the manufacturer to tell us what the issue was. They have said that to explain, there was a blue plaque of the Urquhart plaque that was on Station Road, and it was spotted by numerous historians on the Heritage Working Party that it had walked. So took it down, sent it back to the manufacturer. The manufacturer then returned it, and it looked absolutely brand new. But they've said there was a fault, and it was the existing plaque that they've given back to us. That's the information they've sent back. So I don't know. I mean, they're not claiming that there was anything faulty, so to speak. But we think it's a completely brand new plaque, and that there was a fault. Should have done encryption, yeah.
Can I ask another thing? Yes. I do remember Nathan mentioning the beating of the bands when we were sitting in the garden the other day, and it seems they're going to sort of hand it over to the community to be carried out during the 6 weeks of the summer holidays. That sounds as if there's going to be no organisation at all, so it wouldn't surprise me if it just didn't happen. But I gather you, Madam Mayor, are joining in a bit of it when you're going to walk a section.
Yeah, well, I don't know how many sections I'm going to be walking. Sarah, do you want to?
It's all a bit up in the air at the moment. I think the idea was that there was a sort of a large route over 6 weeks, about 3 miles, sort of each route that could be done by families, etc. And Madam Mayor might have liked towards the end to do a section.
And each section starts with a pub and ends with a pub.
Yeah.
Suddenly, my ears.
But we did question the routes and whether it was going to be suitable for families, not because of safety. I mean, we need to sort of practice the routes and things, but for a family to go on a family walk, it needs to be a round route as opposed to an A point and a B point, because you then the difficulties to get back. So I think the routes are sort of up in the air at the moment, but we're going to look into it and report back.
So it may not happen this year.
I think that the interest is there, and if not in the summer holidays, then certainly we've got National Heritage Week in September, so maybe trying to sort of tie it into that sort of section into that.
Because we talked about walking groups being able
to do it as well. Yeah. So it's just sort of working out which direction it wants to go. But I think the interest.
Can we make sure that members are told so we can perhaps join in one section?
Of course.
It will be publicised well, in other words.
And practice routes as well if you wanted to help out with that.
Do that.
Councillor McCann, did you have a question about the clubs?
Do we have enough funding? Should there need funding for this if you do need anything?
I think the idea is that it won't be a council run event, and that we will just be helping with publicising, advertising and supporting when needed. Am I correct?
Yeah.
I think that was
There is budget within the Heritage Working Party has to play with, and a lot of that is included in terms of the blue plaque, but there is other funds available which could help the
Yeah, so you
marketing.
don't want it to sink for the evening's worth of towers type of stuff.
Correct.
That's-
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. Can we propose and agree on the big ones? Propose that? Was that you, Mark?
Yeah.
Sorry. And seconder? Stevenson, and all those in favour? Thank you. The events working party minutes. You want to have a quick look at those? Two key points to note, which is the Family Fun Day and the Christmas Lights scheme. Did you want to say anything about the Family Fun Day?
Just that I was asked to have a look if we could do much more with the Thatcham Town Council offer. It was kind of felt that perhaps last year was a little bit lost, connected to the lost children area where the staff were, etc. So when we were at the working party group, we agreed that what we will do is put it into the heart of the event, so that it can be, because what happens, people do come to go to the information tent, but it's pretty much at the start of the event, and then they're in the heart of the action. They kind of don't want to stray back. They kind of want to enjoy everything that's there. So we found, we think, a really good position, which is right at the edge of where the stalls are, but next to sort of where the catering is and what have you. And the other point we discussed at that meeting was that we could bring in, and we've got some really incredible stilt walkers, so we can put them next to the tent to draw people into it. Yeah, and our feeling is that in terms of what's inside it, it's up to the councillors to decide what they want to see in it, you know, to showcase.
We did have a discussion with the town clerk in terms of maybe not as many councillors being able to attend this year for particular reasons. And we discussed about using a sort of bank staff, agency staff to actually be able to.
Okay, tell me more.
Ship it out.
Well, I'm going to be controversial because because we need to show as councillors, elected members within elected, that we need to. So I'm going to be there, so I'm going to be there to be in front of them. It's not actually town. We try to show our hand and show our faces in events. This is a town council badge event that I want to support. I know what's going on nationally, locally. However, I fundamentally feel that we should be. We're already possibly not doing a meeting because of the fact that we're having to do other things. But I feel that if we are here in West Berkshire on that day, we spend our time with our family as well. I've got a family, but we give our time, U3A including, to make sure that, because you're going to be busy with U3A, we should be present at Hennick Field. And I feel quite strongly about that, because if I expect people to come and help me on a non-match event, then I certainly can't be hypocrite. And I want to support John in that. That's what I'm happy to say that.
Thank you. Councillor Pound.
Ben's absolutely right. I mean, this is, we've got 4 flagship events. This is one where we actively encourage every councillor to take part in, maybe for an hour in the morning, and then another half an hour or whatever in the afternoon, or if you can be there all day. Absolutely, that's what we've completely and 100% asked for, but we cannot demand. That's the nature of what we do. I believe the proposal for the marquee and the added fun parts of it are dovetail into the council's aspirations to not just promote one specific event, but to use each of the events to promote the other events within which we are looking to do. And the conversations with the clerk and the officers of the council was about if we need additional staff and we need additional equipment to facilitate members' ambitions, then so be it. We have enough in the budget. We're not here to make we're not here to increase staff's workload. We are here to support staff's work and promote what that ambition that we set there. So please, 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 every member turn up for as long as you can. And what we have in that stand marquee, I would hope very much would be, look at what we've done last year's festival, because this is what the fun day, this is what we did. You know, this is what we did at last year's festival. Look at what we did, and here's a diary of what's coming up for the next festival. These are the dates. So we're actually showing what we've done collectively as a council and showing them what we're looking to do. That's the purpose of it. And the reason for putting it in a more central location, exactly as the officers have said, is to make it a focal point so we can become like a hub within that. Obviously, we'll manage as much as we can with councillors and indeed officers and staff. It's fantastic. But we also felt it was important that if we needed additional support, we didn't want that burden to fall on the officers unnecessarily. And that's why it was suggested that to the clerk, which may not have filtered back yet, because it was only on Friday that was suggested as a potential offer, which I would take and would be happy with.
And yeah, exactly that. And I think it's my understanding that because of the those at the Regency, obviously numbers of kind of window, etc., for different circumstances, that they were a massive help. You know, that certainly that group of 20 people probably diminished down to hardly anything. So certainly those agency staff members, an extra temporary would be more than welcome, but in a paid capacity, because they wouldn't be volunteers, which I totally understand.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you. I would agree. I mean, it sounds like we've got a good position for the tent, and yes, the guys at the Regency did a fantastic job. But I guess they wouldn't have been manning this tent anyway. So if we do bring in additional resources for managing the car parks and so on, we still need that core of council representatives. Could I ask through the chair how good a response you've had so far, John? Because I know you have asked. I put my name forward and I said I'm coming back from Scotland on Saturday, so I'll do the later part rather than the early part. But without mentioning names, have you had a reasonable response from councillors?
We have cover from 10:45 to 12:45. We probably have a problem between 12:45 and 2:45, unless we force Councillor Mike Cole to work around the clock, because he's also, I mean, I think that's part of it.
To help in that slot, if that helps members.
Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because a lot, yes, as Councillor Schiefer Hart said, there are lots of councillors. They're not are doing other things.
Yeah.
Sponsoring the dog show at other, So it is I think Councillor Pike has offered, for example, I know he said don't name names, and he's offered a small slot, but he's in London till 11 o'clock at night and then is starting doing a show, not gallivanting around.
I think he is gallivanting. It's a good excuse.
Simon doesn't gallivant.
Sorry, you know what I mean. So, and then I think the next day he's doing the same show in the evening.
And I haven't got a particular slot, but I'm just.
You are going to be very, very busy, Madam Mayor.
All day. I can just say that I've been to every one since it was on, but I've always had other commitments. I've never actually helped at the Thatcham Town Council. For the first 3 years, I was working with the neighbourhood police team.
Exactly.
And they asked me well before the council asked me, and I supported them. I'm never not there, but I'm with others, and I've been with the Royal British Legion. And then now I'm with the U3A, and I was with the U3A before, blah, blah, blah. But I have to help the U3A because I'm giving up being chair on Friday. I can't then abandon them at the fun day because it wouldn't be fair. But I might be able to abandon them next year.
If it is.
That's the way
Nice.
to do it.
I mean, maybe,
Yes.
Madam Mayor, an email to remind the members, you know,
Coming
but
from the chair,
Yeah.
asking the chair from
Yeah.
for that would
yeah, that would be strong.
Would it be useful to have the gaps
that would
that
be
are
Yes.
there to say this
Yeah.
is what we need to
Yeah,
do?
if you could let me know, and I'll send that to them.
Maybe perhaps.
You get a donation, you get fine, you don't need to put towards food.
So, Madam, sorry,
I was just going to ask, is there already an agenda for the day, for example, when it goes?
there is, and there's also like a draft rota of all the different areas and support staff, volunteers, councillors, and our team. But there is a program, yes. Is that something? I mean, I can send tomorrow like an update to members so they can see what's happening. Yeah, shall I do that?
Thank you.
fantastic.
Okay. Okay, I'll send that through. That's to just the events committee, or
No, everybody.
okay, all the okay.
That would be really helpful.
Sorry,
Thank you.
Councillor Shepherd has expressed what we thought all the time. All councillors should put it as their first priority on that day. I know, unfortunately, we have an election, but
The last Saturday before the
We've also got to
election.
remember who the electorate are. And the electorate are people turning up.
Exactly.
We need to show, we've got to show that we're doing what we said.
I'm sure that's been noted.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's the first part.
Sorry, John.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I'm still not sure. We know the location, but I'm still not sure. You mentioned that you had a meeting with the clerk, but I'm still not sure what we're putting inside the tent, aside from what we talked about at the working party, which was, you know, what we normally do.
Yeah.
Refreshment. So what do you know we're doing there?
Well, it was more or less what you said in terms of
Just make it
advertising
bigger.
what we do, I think the
Never organisers by committee. Yeah, sorry.
we haven't got any, we haven't got any display material for that.
Well, that's the point with, you know, we had a lovely event, but the events are no longer valid. You know, they're kind of, they don't, you know, we're not doing a fun on the Broadway. We're not doing so there's no.
So do we need a new one? Councillor Lamb first.
I was just going to say, is it possible there are many photos posted on Facebook and social media of the events that we do? Is it possible to have a TV screen with those photos rolling so that there's pictures coming up every now and then? This was this event, this was that, maybe to capture, say what each one was, so that people, while they're there, have got something that they can look at, watch, see.
Sounds nice. Don't be difficult to set up, you need a little.
Yeah.
Failing that
And-
to save
yeah,
money
I think-
and IT, if it's going to be in the middle of the field, with the generator obviously, but isn't it not one of those fancy felt board flip outs that someone's got with in pictures up there. This is this event, that's that event, that's that one, this is what's coming up. And then next year, you're exactly the same, but with, you show,
one, sorry.
well, I'm sure we can use 3A's. We need exactly that.
Blue ball sits on the table.
Proposed and so,
Yep.
right,
That's what we've got to use.
that's exactly what I love. Those sort of things are fantastic. They're heavy and they need to put sandbagging down as well. But how they are, but those would be perfect. And we don't have to worry. We can literally strip down the pictures and bring current ones up. You're totally right about media. We're always taking the pictures, still got them somewhere.
They're all on Facebook.
They're all on, yeah, we just take the best ones, but we make a nice display out of it.
Yeah.
And whoever's, working in events now. And but honestly, then you just when you've done it once, you just copy it and rehash it next year.
So can I ask then, is the preference to have a felt board over a wraparound stand that we also potentially looking?
What's the wraparound stand?
Well, again, this is something I think we will struggle to get right before.
No.
So I think
Because you're looking down.
table,
Behind.
so table set up, but with some sort of blue board
That'd be great in the future.
in and moving forward can use it.
Would that help if you're going to get 4 boards and say this is what Christmas last time was, this is what the festival last time was, this is what Fun Day last day was, and these are the mugshots of your local councillors,
And it's really interchangeable, isn't it?
and then you can.
Yeah.
How much are they? I asked.
£430.
The blue one.
Well, we've got that.
Oh,
We've got that. So that's the other thing is the budget, because at the moment there's no, members would need to, if we are proposing. So the counter is somewhere in the area of £430, and then a banner that's suitable for outdoors, not indoors, because as soon as you take one of the pop-ups, it gets ruined. So they outdoor roller banner, £239, assuming 2 graphics used. Can be used indoors or outdoors. So that's the kind of
I
fee.
think it would be nice to have the banner.
absolutely. Not instead of, but as well as.
Yeah. Well, we've already got the felt board, you said anyway.
But it's the time to be able to do that. But I mean, members can agree to try and find some additional funds, I guess, because that's what we need to do.
I don't know, we used to have blue boards standing here forever.
Yes, we've got the blue, we've got the blue
Yeah.
pop-ups, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the time and money then is surely just printing some nice photographs off from Facebook.
And the banner.
Where's the banner going to go then?
Yeah.
Across the marquee. Because one of the marquees does have Thatcham Town Council on the top there, has the badge.
Gazebo.
It's going to be a
Gazebo.
You want a marquee.
So are you I hadn't pulled this on board. Are we buying a marquee? We're hiring a marquee.
At the moment, we have a 4 metre by 3 metre Thatcham Town Council branded marquee. I haven't been asked to.
Gazebo.
The working party, we agreed that what was more important was what was inside, the content, as opposed to
Yeah.
the size.
Council Town.
We are running short of time. The committee could devolve the decision to the chair and vice chair, if I'm not mistaken, with officers to finalise the actual cost without it referring back. Is that procedurally correct? Or do you think members should ask for about £1,000 out of their budget and no penny pinch somewhere else? What would be the officers' direct help and the best way moving forward?
I wonder whether, as you say, we're short of time. I'm not sure. We don't have one of the creative events officer who does the branding with us this week. We've got 2 weeks, to pull something together. And I would have thought, 239 doesn't sound too much, but we want to get it right. And probably what would look good is 2 of them. So it's symmetry. You've got a symmetry there. And as to to find
500 quid.
I think given the time scales, we need to
Why don't we look for it for
agree that outside of the meeting.
Would you be able to reuse it? Would it, is it a one
Yeah,
year?
no.
Yeah, no, it would be,
So in that
def-
case, we could park it until October.
well,
I'm not, as a non-member of the committee, if officers say it is appropriate for members to use some of their budget, then the chair is the boss, and if the chair wishes to do that, then I'm sure members would agree that that's money that the chair and the vice chair would be happy to do that. And so whether or not you'd like to put a number on it, or
Well, I mean, we're talking about £500.
you've got a big enough budget within the rest of the administrative year to help members if members choose that flexibility. If that helped.
Just so we've got full council at the end of the month. You've got time if we do need additional funding to get that onto the agenda.
Okay, I don't
but not,
think we need to go to full council.
You don't.
Probably don't. I'm just saying to bear that in mind that if you get pushback from the usual financial channels.
No, I'm pretty sure you won't.
Can I just confirm we're saying, can I just confirm we're saying that that wraparound won't be for the 30th?
Yeah, we're saying we're looking at that for next year, maybe.
not
that's
for
something
this, but for,
Yeah.
I think the pop-up banner is what we're talking
Yes.
about.
Yeah, we're talking about.
I mean, it's nice having one of those desks. It's just, I don't think that would be the only thing I want. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
The choice. And the fun thing is, how welcome to us. That'd be great with Thatcham branding. Yeah, I'd be happy with that.
Because that's what we're doing, we're promoting the work that we're doing
Yeah.
for our community.
Yeah, so we need to get pictures. That's
Absolutely.
We need to get pictures.
Yeah.
The 30th of June this year.
And pictures will count as well.
Yeah. So people go, well, that's who you are.
I've seen you around.
I thought some people were shocked.
Okay, so we'll chat about this, how best we're going to
Yeah.
get this
Um,
sorted.
So,
So may I just say that the A-frame or A-board that you've got outside Waitrose is perfectly positioned as it is chained to the,
Yeah.
it cannot be stolen. Because I've read it twice and I know it's there. So I think it's excellent.
we might move it around as well, just to get it in sort of different places.
And I saw a lady getting out her diary.
Excellent. Sorry, before we move on, can I just double check with regards to the marquee tent gazebo? We're happy with the Thatcham Town Council 4x3.
Yeah, for this year, and
For
I think
this year,
we'll be
We
looking at
can
next
pre-plan
year.
it.
Yeah.
Brilliant,
Okay.
thank you.
A role and a function for the working party to see
Yes.
if we can enhance that
Yeah,
presence.
Absolutely.
Which will more than enough time for the budget next year to zip it in, so you get a
Yeah,
6x6 and you get bells and whistles.
Yeah.
Can be used elsewhere.
Repeatedly used.
okay, Christmas lights, this hopefully is just a quick one.
Yes. Madam Mayor, do you want me
So,
to?
yeah,
Well,
Do you want
I'm
me to-
happy you introduce it.
basically, we met, we gave our budget to, it was 2 different contractors, wasn't it?
We pushed out a tender to two
Yeah,
different companies, yes.
With an idea of what our budget was. The 2 came back. One we felt was way over what we could afford. The other one was kind of almost within the budget. We were impressed with what they showed us. Things like having the uplights in the trees, really, we really liked those. A bit over the budget, but we managed to get that down.
And the moving head go-bo.
Oh, and the moving head go-bo, which we're going to have 2. It's sort of the lights reflected on the floor and they move around. Yeah. I didn't know they were called that either before I sat on the working party. We actually decided one. We could afford one within our budget, and we thought that we would see how it went this year, and if we felt that there was a bit extra needed, then we would look at that again next year. But we're quite happy with. We think it's going to look really good, and it's within the budget that we were given. Anything else that you wanted to add?
Yeah, so the company came up with two proposals. One, an outright purchase. On the second one, a 3-year hire. We have pushed then to, can they get it within the budget with a 3-year hire? So basically, they then store it, they maintain it, rather than it coming back to our workshop and us, well, which lights don't work or whatever. So that's their responsibility.
Yeah.
The clerk has also something to add from our last email discussion, that if it is over a 3-year period, she can also find an extra £1,000,
Oh, okay.
which we weren't sure
Yeah.
about, to add and double the amount of lights on the high street. So
Right.
that was part of the original
Yeah.
proposal of those Christmas lights, to make them doubly effective, to put a double
And that's
string of
what we
lights.
kept back on originally,
Yeah,
instead we
yeah.
took too much, yeah.
But Thatch Vegas,
Thatcham Vegas.
love it.
Sorry.
If I remember from the call, they're doubling it because they're gonna intertwine
The white,
white ones in amongst the colour ones, which is really quite effective. It's
Yeah.
a really nice effect. So we cut it out because of budget constraints, because with how things are for families, and we really didn't want to go over what we had. But anyway, we managed to get there in the end.
so hopefully they
Yeah.
should look really nice.
Just a brief interjection that one. Good creative thinking on budgets was my thoughts on that, and I would encourage officers to think creatively within their budgets. That's, if we can get what members want by tweaking here and tweaking there, it doesn't always have to coming back for a double stamping of a re-agreement, because you're effectively saying we managed to do it, we had to tweak it.
Yeah.
You don't need members in amongst all of that, but and slowing things down unnecessarily.
But that, to me, that was a really good example of how, as we alluded to earlier, of the working group working really well. And actually, it was an advantage, not a disadvantage, because at the Zoom meeting with the client, we were all kind of selling, weren't we? Thatcham really. And I think as a result, we got extra value. So it worked really well. Yeah.
So can we vote on all of that together? So we've got obviously the minutes, but within that, agreeing that what we've agreed about the family fun day and the tent, and also the Christmas lights. Is that okay? Is that who wants to propose that? Ben, Councillor Hart, thank you. And Councillor Lewis, got me seconding that. Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. That's agreed. And there's a report on the rural touring scheme. I don't know if anybody's got any comments. You attended that, didn't you? Oh, Councillor Lewis.
Can I make a comment before I mention? So I took my 2 grandchildren, and it was a lovely, lovely event, especially as my granddaughter added a part to the story. The children didn't actually know they were making the story up by adding their comments. It was very cleverly done. Everybody joined in, and they said it was sold out. Now, Emily did marvellously, but she couldn't have coped without Councillor Pemberton, because the queue to be served for lunch went from the servery hatchery there right the way round the hall, because everybody wanted their lunch all at once. And there was one other member of our staff in the kitchen, Emily outside, and you serving, co-serving. So I think we need to think about that. Again, it was a wonderful event, but Emily and the other member of staff, I'm not sure who it was, could not have coped serving those lunches on their own without at least.
So they probably needed a volunteer in advance.
Yeah.
Can I add to that? Absolutely taken on board, and that's been part of the feedback internally, that was the one of the hiccups.
Even after the event, I was speaking to Emily, and that was definitely taken on board. But can I just say what a wonderful wonderful event that was. It was just like a breath of fresh air. The kids were creating the story without even realising they were creating the story. My boys are older, you know, but even they were in fits of laughter. The two people that came and performed were fabulous. I can't say enough good things about that, and I really hope that we do so many more events like that locally. And it was, you know, quite cheap, and there was food in half-term time where, you know, children that go to school and get free school dinners might not be getting their free school dinners. And we included, I think, for £2.50 in there some pizza and chips as well. So it was great value.
But I think the reduced cost was 93p. The £2.50 was the average sort of cost. So for that,
Okay, cool.
very good.
But also, the children's centre provided excellent crafts. And again, my grandchildren took part in 2 or 3 of those. Really nice. And I gather they provided that stuff for free. And lots of staff there from the children's centre. So that was really good cooperative work with the town council. I thought the whole thing, as you just heard, was marvellous.
Excellent.
Yeah, in order to get things touched on it earlier when we had raised this issue about good ideas, officers' time and effort involvement, and members' time and effort involvement. Sometimes they may be disjointed, but in order to help facilitate that, perhaps the suggestion about finding additional staff for temporary things could be part of the officer's review about what do we need and how do we need it in order so that it doesn't fall on particular members. But I'm sure the officers will go away and talk to the clerk about mechanisms and processes and ways forward to help make sure they have, if they need additional staff, you go get them. You're not so hamstrung that you can't, and an event suffers because of that. And you know, this is I've heard nothing but glowing reports from people up the pub or people talking that as we meet them in the high street about the idea is great. Let's have lots of them. So, you know, that was the feedback. And fantastic.
And lastly, progress report on the development plan funding. I mean, we've covered quite a bit of it.
Yeah, it was just putting it into. I mean, we did chat about it as well at the last committee meeting, but it was just really just giving an update. Everything seems to be going according to plan. Let's just hope the weather isn't too hot, doesn't rain, and it's exactly the right temperature. I mean, again, to repeat that we have an amazing number of. Where is the Family Fun Day report? Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we're really excited about the Newbury. The parade element that we're working in partnership with Newbury Pride. And since the last meeting, we have managed to get a big grant from the Greenham Trust of £3,000 and also match funding from a really generous donation from one of the Newbury Pride members of £1,000 that was matched £1,000. So with that, I was working on a plan A, then it's a plan B, and we moved to plan C. So we do have a really strong, effective parade, which the mayor will be at the front of. So I, you know, Samba band, big LBG puppets, 2 stilt walkers, a dance section, and Samba band, a 20-piece Samba band, 20-piece dance section. And on the day, the public can get involved and join in the parade by making flags or hat accessories, or even a dance session within the dance zone to learn some of the steps. So hopefully that will look really superb. That will also be repeated at Newbury Pride. So there'll be a Thatcham section within Newbury Pride on July the 13th.
Will that be going through the grounds or around the stalls?
Yeah, it'll start in the what we're calling the rainbow zone, which is where Newbury Pride stall is, and some of the Newbury Pride stall holders. So there's about 8 or 10 of them, I believe, and then it will parade into where the music stage is. So there'll be about, within Family Fun Day, there'll be about a 15-minute parade, and that'll be at 3 o'clock. But I will put all those timings together for members tomorrow, just so you have that right. This is what's going on at this time. So there's nothing else happening of musical. You know, it'll all be joined up. So the dance zone finishes at 3 o'clock. The music stage will finish at 3 to allow the parade to come into the music stage. That's the plan. Fingers crossed again.
I've just read that the fun run is going to return. Where are they going to run?
Around the cricket, isn't it? Yeah, it's around the cricket.
It's only going to be a little one.
Oh yeah, so only going to be a little one.
And is it for small kids then?
Thomas just asked the same question. Yes, it's going to be different year groups. The smaller ones will do like maybe 1 lap, 2, depending on the size. The older you get, and then I want to do one called a continuous run, where you just keep running until you stop.
So that area will be kept clear for just that event.
Yes, correct. The only
not actually going on the cricket pitch, because I think they
absolutely not, absolutely not. And just to, it is actually double the size of previous years. So the allocation of the space is double. They're going to be, yeah.
Councillor Lillycott, did you want to say?
Yeah. So just coming back to the parade and the Pride involvement, just wanted to say thank you to the team for making that happen, because working with Pride last year, I know how important it is to them, and I was certainly very keen for us to bring in that element and to make the event as diverse as we can. And it sounds really exciting this year. Could I just, because the fun day is the sort of event where people wander in and out in the course of the day, nobody pays much attention to schedules and what happens when, and people seem to find it so easy to miss things. In the publicity during the build up to the fun day, can we emphasize the timing of the parade, because it's something we haven't done before, or certainly not for a long time, and so that people don't actually miss that, because I think it will be a big feature of the event.
From today, because the run up is now.
Yeah, I mean, it's purposely put near the back, so we're hoping that people stay longer. But absolutely, but the idea is it's a finale, because sometimes fun day, because it's a long day, you know, 3:30 starts to
it fizzes out
out.
about 3.
Well, this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's part of your communication strategy as well, isn't it? Where we can promote it on Facebook, Instagram, and all our usual mechanisms and processes. Could I just throw something in? Not quite a hand grenade, but certainly something I've been looking to encourage the council to do, is to communicate our events through to the other parishes and town councils that surround us, so that they're aware of our events, and to try and encourage them to post it on their Facebook pages, their Instagram pages, and we have a reciprocal arrangement, so that when Kodash have their events, they're telling us, you know, and we put out the other events. Do you see what I'm trying to say there?
Yeah.
Because I think there's people in and around Thatcham town who do like these events and would love to come along, and we want to use their existing mechanisms and processes within the other towns and parishes around us, and we just help each other. And I'm not quite sure whether that needs to be a formal request or a chit chat. How you do it, I'm not
Yeah, I think we,
worried, but the idea,
yeah,
I think, would be helpful.
I think we need to check whether when we may well be doing it already on the social media by liking posts and sharing posts, but we need to check that. But that's one obvious way just to see if Cold Ash Parish Council are pushing themselves. If not, then maybe a bit more formal.
Or a suggestion about if you're going to have a chat, because if you're going to promote what we're doing, it doesn't harm.
Yeah.
Like saying, no, that's exactly what we did at Greenham. We all ran to Greenham because they were doing something, and it's that sort of mindset where we're working as a community.
Yeah.
Sorry, Madam Mayor. The only other thing is just to say the sheer number of stalls that are coming in, and Sarah has the unenviable task of sending out information which will be happening tomorrow to the 150 store holders that we seem to have in lots of different categories, absolutely far more than ever before, from the community, the commercial, the charities, the local organizations. I think there's quite a major task happening at the moment, and that's just part of it. The second part will obviously be how we bring them in on the day, hence the need to have quality staff and officers supporting when they get in. So the Newbury Pride area, the vegan, the strength of the vegan areas is. Do you want to, Sarah? Do you want to?
26 vegan stores.
Oh, wow.
Vegan village.
Vegan village.
Yeah, vegan village.
Yeah, there's a village. Yeah.
But that was the latest numbers. Yeah, the latest numbers that they gave us. So it's all looking really positive and strong. So that'd be fab.
A mix of not just food, but vegan stalls offering goodies as well, products.
Madam Mayor, at last you'll be fed.
Yes.
Is there promotional material that's produced for the public, like a map of the area and on that there will also be like the agenda of what's happening and when it's happening, so that everybody gets given that?
Yeah, there was talk of trying to do something a little bit different this year, but we're going to save that, I think, now till next year, which was to have big signs, massive signs illustrated. So we are going back to a small program that will be given out with those times, and we'll reinforce those times. That the messaging in the working party group, actually, Madam Mayor, you suggested that we make sure that the dance zone, Kennet Radio are doing all the PA there, and the music stage, we reinforce that Thatcham Town Councils, it's our family fun day, and this is what's happening at these key times. Something maybe to consider for future years is to come up with maybe a tannoy system throughout the site.
Don't forget you're missing the dog show.
Yeah, because and that will help on emergency messaging and anything like that. So that's something I'd like to sort of think about. So I'm throwing that in, as an item.
We have discussed that one in the past. I think it would benefit from it if we can find the funding for it. I think it would definitely benefit.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that the good people of Hennick Lane can't stand tannoys.
Don't upset them
one day.
Okay.
Councillor Pemberton.
Just to say, I am not technical, okay, so I could be barking up along thing. But when you go to events and you scan it and you give your feedback, could we not have big posts instead of like lots of just a QR code where people can scan it and get a map of the site and an agenda for the day?
Yes, indeed.
Instead of paperwork, we're just thinking about the environment.
Again, it's part of the communication strategy that we were touching on a moment ago, but how do we communicate in a modern way?
Councillor Schiffer-Hart, and then I think we
So
need to
this is the last one. So I've just mentioned Canva. So now the thing about using Canva, it's a website that you can do PDFs on and everything, and you can change it. So if something is cancelled on the day, you can literally put across cancelled, and then when people go and check, they go, "Oh, okay, it's cancelled," because you literally it's a working document. So it's not paper thing, it's council, cross it out. It's literally, you have a few paper ones for people that clearly won't have the resources to get there. But actually, the way the world is working is it's an up-to-date work. You go to the Ideal Home Exhibition, they don't give you a paper thing now, it's all on your phone.
Yeah.
We want to be the Ideal Home Exhibition of Thatcham.
Can I, Councillor Schiffer-Hart, our communications manager is absolutely on it in terms of that. Yes, QR codes and updating information so it can be on the website. You just look at it, it's changed. But we will relay what you have said to her. I know the big plan of the big signs with QR codes, we're not doing it, but I'm sure we're going to be doing QR codes, not just in the paper program around sites. But I need to double check that.
And I just don't want to forget that there's an older generation that go, so they
Absolutely.
do need printed ones as well, but for a lot of people, the QR codes are.
Absolutely. Could I constructively suggest that, because after the funding, that we, I hesitate to use the post-mortem example, but
Debrief.
Sorry. That we debrief and your exact suggestion about, how do we add value next year? The tannoy system, the QR code system.
Yeah.
That please don't lose that.
Absolutely.
So that we can come back, because if you come back next year and you're trying to say, look, we did great, it was 30% bigger this year, but we want another 30% next year, but we need 30% bigger budget. You need to get in quick and get in early, because the budget's in November, effectively.
Yeah.
And we don't want to lose that momentum for members.
Not being technical either, but within the QR code, then also it's possible for them to give feedback on the things.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the plan that communications manager is putting in place for us. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what you want.
Is that James?
No, Emily Mosley. My lost events officer, engagement manager.
The other one you just said as well. You said communications.
No, she's the communications manager. Yeah.
Got my
Communication sound like different things.
She is. They are two different things. She isn't the communications. She's the community engagement manager. But I think she's pretty good at communications. There we go.
Can I close the meeting?
Fantastic.
Oh, yes.
2028.
Thank you. Let's just